Hey everybody, it's me, Eric Comley, Garrard County 4-H Youth Development Agent, and I am literally coming from the woods today. So from the woods today and from the woods today. So I'm wandering around the kind of the border of Lincoln County and Pulaski County, and pretty close to, relatively close to, also Casey County as well. So they asked me to come back. I'm really surprised that they asked me to come back. Laurie and Renee had asked me to come back and talk a little bit about spring wildflowers. And if you all watched the segment that I did the last time, you know, I'm really excited about wildflowers. Spring is definitely my favorite season because it's just an opportunity to see kind of new growth and new life. And especially with flowers, you know, there's just an opportunity to go out and see just cool plants that we have in Kentucky. Kentucky is extremely diverse. We have, oh my gosh, just an incredible amount of plants. 2,030 native plants in Kentucky. So we have a lot of native plants in our state. And so you can see some of my camera equipment actually behind me where I've been taking photographs, but there's all kinds of things that I'm looking at, hopefully that I'll get the chance to talk about today. So, I mean, I've got fall Solomon seal, I've got some foam flower that's back there. I see fairy wings. I see, if you look down here, you see what's our native chickweed, Stellaria pubera. We have all kinds of things. Rue anemone right there, Thalictrum thalictroides. So Kentucky is just, I mean, if you get in the right spots, and there's all kinds of right spots, okay? So don't think that I have some sort of magic powers, which that would be really cool if I did, but I'm not like the Harry Potter of wildflowers. I enjoy going out and looking, and the big part of that is that within this kind of community of people that love wildflowers, there's all kinds of opportunities for shared information, as long as it's nothing that's rare or endangered or threatened or of special concern in Kentucky. So you can get out. I mean, the one thing I would encourage you to do is go to your natural areas, go to, your state nature preserves, go to your state parks, get on the Kentucky Native Plant Society Facebook page. We're right dead in the middle. Well, I guess it's, kind of later in the week, but we're right in the middle of this wildflower week that's going on right now. So there's plenty of opportunity for not only you to kind of figure out some different places that would go and be beautiful to hike, but also some really cool places that, that you'd be able to see some different wildflowers. So I encourage you to do that. So what we're going to do today, as far as from the woods today, is I'm going to take you all around some of the hillsides here in the Knobs, and we're going to take a look and see what we can find. So I hope you all enjoy. So it's I think the old saying is killing two birds with one stone. So this is actually going to work out pretty well here. We've got two different kinds of trillium that are right here, and the hillside, and I'm going to try and get some bee footage, if you will, of the hillside that I'm looking at right now. It's just absolutely covered. In my heart, I can hear with the sound of music, the hills are alive with a lot of trillium. I mean, it's just trillium all over the place. And so I'll hit on these two. I've actually seen 4 different species of trillium that are in bloom, and I don't know that I'll get to them all, but we may try and get as many as we can. So the one that you see here, probably closest up to you, this is large flowered trillium, or large white trillium, Trillium grandiflorum. And the trilliums in Kentucky, well, the trilliums everywhere, are split into really 2 groups. So there's what are called the sessile trilliums, which, if you look at this one, you see this stalk here. We'll talk about that in just a second. The sessile trilliums do not have that stalk, and so they lay directly on this kind of leafy portion of the plant. All right, so that would be things like Trillium sessile, which is sessile trillium, yellow trillium, Trillium luteum. It also would be prairie trillium, which is Trillium recurvatum. So those trilliums they sit directly on, so they are sessile trilliums. So sessile just meaning that they are attached or close to, okay? These are stalked trilliums, and so they all have this this pedicel or this stalk that's on them. And so large flower trillium is in this one. Now trilliums are all rhizomatous, and so what you see growing, the stem that's coming up actually from the ground right there, is just an extension of the rhizome that's coming up. And you see this beautiful flower. The large flower trillium has those wavy edges on it, those bright yellow stamens that are on the inside of the plant. Really just a gorgeous. And this is one that when you see one, you're probably going to see several, and I'll show you all several here in just a second. Now, if I can get that one out of the way, you look over here next to it and you see this one that has, once again, another stalked trillium. And this one is called, well, the scientific name for this one is Trillium erectum, or also called Stinking Benjamin or Red Trillium. So another stalked trillium. You can see that this one hangs down pretty close to where I'm at right now. You'll also find Nodding Trillium, which doesn't look exactly like this, but has a very similar characteristic, except it kind of dangles down all the way underneath the leaves. All trillium, well, not all trilliums, but these trilliums actually, their seed dispersal is from what is called myrmecockery, and we've talked about that before, which is the spreading of seeds by ants. So what happens is the ants take those seeds, they take them down to the ground, they feed on or allow other ants to feed on what are called the elaiosome, which is kind of a, if you've ever heard like as far as M&Ms are concerned, they have that thin candy shell around them. Essentially, the elaiosome is the thin candy shell that's around the seed. So ants feed on that, and then they take what's left over and they take it out and they discard it, because you know they're not going to eat the true seed portion, and then they spread, and then the rhizome, which is an underground system, you know, spreads, and you know, well, you have the hillside that we're looking at right now. So trilliums are really kind of those iconic spring wildflowers that you see all over the place. Quite a variety of colors, quite a variety of habitats that they grow in. So if you're out on the roadways and you see trillium, it's usually a pretty impressive display, and I'll let you all take a look at it. As a matter of fact, I'll let you all do that now. So I'm going to turn the camera around. So if you look, you can see all the trillium, and you can see as it goes up through there. So all of that white that you see, and if you look, especially about straight back in the camera there, you see that pink. That's what will happen to the large flower trillium as it ages. It'll start to turn that beautiful kind of pinkish color and just be absolutely gorgeous. So anyway, let's move on and see what else we can find out here. All right, so I have another plant that I want to show you. It's one, obviously. This one is another really cool plant. This one is actually starting to go out of flower just a little bit, but it's holding on to the shape that I really want to be able to show off to you all. So we all know, well, we all know violets. Violets are pretty common as far as our yard is concerned. We would find what is called Viola sororia, which is the common blue violet. But the one that I wanted to show off to you is not this one that's back here, but it's this one that's up here. This is called long spurred violet. If you look at the very back, you see that long spur that actually comes out of the back of the flower there. The scientific name for this one is Viola rostrata, and grows in these clumps like this. It is rhizomatous, once again, underground stem, but this kind of typically this kind of pale purple color, obviously with these the darker purple on the inside of it, and those defined, which is fairly typical of a lot of violets, is those stripes. And essentially those stripes are just begging insects to come inside and wander around in there. So but anyway, just a really beautiful little flower. This is one, like I said, it'll come in clumps, and so as you drive along back roads or things, you might see a big clump of these pale flowers like this. And if you get out, that key identifying feature is that rostrum, or that beak that's out behind it. And you know, there are insects that they have a rostrum that they feed from. This one is not one that it feeds from, but it's definitely a defining characteristic for this particular plant. Really cool plant. So the next flower we want to look at is this little flower here. Now we actually have two different members of this genus in Kentucky, okay? So one you've definitely heard of and people are looking for all over the place. It's actually called ginseng, okay? Panax cincifolius, all right? And it is the larger version of this little plant here. This is Panax trifolius, which is also called dwarf ginseng, okay? As you know, ginseng has medicinal properties and whatnot, and I'm sitting in a pretty good cluster. I mean, you can see that there's one that's just right underneath me here, and then over to the other side of the camera, and actually right behind it, there's a pretty good cluster as well. So there's medicinal properties. Now, the name Panax actually was given to it by Linnaeus, old Carl Linnaeus, and he gave this one because he knew that as far as Eastern medicine was concerned, especially in China, that they really revered the ginseng plant. And so Panax actually means all healing or all remedy. If you think about panacea, which one land, so the root comes from that pana. So anyway, he gave it that name, trifolius, and it's really, if you look at, it looks like that there's 5 leaves here, and on some of them there's a little bit better example, but there's actually just 3 leaflets that are on each one. They are whorled there, so they attach all at the same node, and then they have this cluster or this umbel of flowers that you see here. So does it have medicinal properties? I believe so. I think it has some of the same medicinal properties, but it does not. It's probably not as well known. I believe that it's infrequent in Kentucky, and the habitat that I'm in right now and that you would typically find this plant would be things like you know, woodlands, really moist, very healthy soiled woodlands. So I'm looking around me right now. We've got several yellow buckeyes and things like that. So traditional mesic forests. But anyway, so very cool plant, Panax trifolius, and our dwarf ginseng. So let's look around and see what else we've got out here. Well, we're getting ready to get right into the more of the lily family. We'll just say that. So I found 3 different representatives of the lily family that's here. First one is the one, and I don't know that you'll be able to see this one or not. So I'm gonna actually pick the camera up, I think, and let you all see this one. All right, so this is the plant that's right here in front of me. This one that's right here. This is fairy bells, or what is also called yellow mandarin. Prosardes, it used to be in Disperum, but it's Prosardes, Prosartes. Lanuginosa is the species name for this one. So it's in the lily family. It is a monocot, and if you remember all the way back to potentially high school botany, or as you all studied plants or whatever, you remember that monocots have the parallel venation. That's one of the key characteristics. Also, generally floral parts come in groups of 3. So these green petals, and then also you'll see the anthers that are sticking down there. They'll get a little bit more yellow and spread out obviously a lot more as they mature. Okay, so I'm going to turn the camera around here. If you look right here, this is false Solomon seal. False Solomon seal is Maianthemum racemosum, and this is the typical floral structure. Once again, lily family, parallel venation. You know, so this is the floral structure. It always comes out at the end, very angular looking stem as it goes up there. And then to round it all out, kind of right next to it here, if you look here, this is Solomon seal. And so Solomon seal is Polygonatum biflorum. Biflorum meaning 2 flowers. If you look underneath, you see the dangling double flowers, and these only have singles, but you can see where those flowers have already been knocked off or removed or whatever. Called Solomon seal because on the actual root of this plant, it looks like the seal of Solomon, if you will. So that's a little bit of trivia for you. So the lily family is being thoroughly represented here. I'm also seeing, and this doesn't have anything to do with plants, but there's a lot of red mites that are here. So if you're at all interested in those, I mean, you can see on the leaf there, the red mites. So plenty of representatives of the lily family all over the place on this hillside here. I believe the trilliums are actually even in the lily family, or Trilliaceae, which is, I believe, a subfamily of the lilies, and I'll have to double check that. But anyway, a lot of lilies that are coming out in early spring, and this hillside is really beautiful. Now, let me give you a little bit of an idea of where I'm at. I'm in the knobs of Kentucky. So I'm just going to give you, so we've got the knobs region really is made up of these kind of conical shaped hills, if you see in the back there, and you can see kind of the area that I'm in here. But the knobs region is kind of that outer layer right outside along the edge there of the bluegrass region, if you're thinking of physiographic regions in Kentucky. So really just a cool spot because you're kind of getting that transitional between the bluegrass area, and then as you get into the Cumberland Plateau area and move into the more mountainous regions of eastern Kentucky. So really just a beautiful spot. Very cool. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this segment of From the Woods today. I, of course, love to get out and wander around and see some of the cool things that we have. And thank you so much to Lori and Renee and Billy for giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about wildflowers. I guess we'll finish up with one that's really common. It loves moist woodlands. This would be this beautiful little flower that you see here. This is dwarf crested iris, or what is also the scientific name for this one is Iris cristata. If you look, it has that very deliberate, almost tongue, these ridges that run along the tongue of the petals that are here. So just a beautiful flower. And then one that's actually rare in Kentucky is this little one that's back here. If you can see that, this one is called dwarf trillium, or what is also called Ozark trillium. So it is it's it's, like I said, rare in Kentucky. So I'm going to look around here and see if I find any more. But let me grab the camera and I'll let you all take a little bit of a closer look at it. And but anyway, thank you all so much, and I appreciate it. And this has been Eric Comley, Garrard County 4-H Youth Development Agent from the Woods today. Thank you all very much.